God has given us money. He's put it in our pockets. If you have money, really you need to detach from the fact that you have earned that money. You haven't. God has entrusted you with that money, and he's waiting to see what you do with that. You are ultimately free to spend or do what you want with that money, but at the end of the day, you must recognize that it's not yours. It's in your hands to do something with. Okay, so I did this talk before, and I used this slide, and I hope no one finds this patronizing, but I just thought, let's just start at basics and talk about what actually is inflation, because some people might not know, and they might not want to admit that, but it's not that straightforward a concept. So I've called this slide Inflation 101. It's really basic level. So the definition of inflation is the general price level, the general rise in the prices of goods and services. All that basically means is things cost more today than they did 20 years ago. That price increase is what we call inflation. There's something called the Big Mac index. So this is a real thing. So they monitor the way that the price of Big Mac changes over time, and that's a measure of how much inflation has gone up. So I've got the Big Mac index up here. From 2003, a Big Mac was £1.25. Today, a Big Mac is £5.29. This is how much money, how much things have become so much more expensive. And this is basically the rise of inflation. So what is a pound worth to you? This is me trying to be like interactive, so hands up, please. What's a pound worth to you? A bit of petrol in your car for a pound. Don't say bananas. Packet of chewing up. So a pound is worth nothing, is what you're saying. Okay. So I think a pound is worth whatever you can get for that pound. I don't think the pound is worth anything. I think whatever you can buy for a pound tells you how much a pound is worth. And so at the end of the day, the price of goods and services in society is just the balance point between what I'm willing to sell it for versus what you're willing to pay for it. And at that point, that now becomes what that thing is worth. If I'm willing to pay £1 million for a car and someone's willing to sell me that car for £1 million, that car is now worth £1 million, whether there's intrinsic value to the car or there isn't. Because that's the price at which we agree on, that's how much it's worth. So the problem starts to arise when people are just willing to pay anything. So we try and get to this balance point where it's fair, where what I'm willing to pay is what you're willing to sell it for. But there becomes an inflation crisis when you are just literally willing to pay anything for it. So here's an example. The price of electricity goes up. Everyone's seen the news. It's like 50p per kilowatt hour, and you're all looking blankly because I know none of you pay bills. 50p per kilowatt hour at the moment. So the price of electricity goes up. So what does that mean? It means we all have less money to live. And so we're spending so much on electricity that we have no choice but to pay for that electricity. I need electricity. I'm not going to not pay for it. But now I don't have enough money to survive. So I go to work and I go and ask for more money. I go to my employer and I say, I can't afford my electricity bill. You have to pay me more money. My employer gives me the more money, as you see with the recent strikes, for example, the NHS strikes. Eventually, they agree, they give you the higher wages. That means that companies have started to lose money, and their profit margins are coming down, and the people that own that company, the shareholders, the stock market starts to fall. Companies are not as profitable as they were before. So any guess what they do? They put the price up. And then it happens again. They put the price up, people can't afford it again, they go back to their employers, and this is how you get this spiral of inflation. And this is where it becomes problematic. And so when we talk about stewarding money or being careful with money, the main thing we're trying to tackle is the rise in inflation. If I could put money under my bed and it would maintain its value forever, I would do that. But because of this, we can't do that. So we do need to be sensible with money. So question time, what is the price of money? How much does money cost? Time. Effort. Anything else? Sort of. So what does £1 cost? So if I go to the bank tomorrow and I say, I want £1, what will they charge me for that pound? The interest rate. The interest rate. That's what interest rates are. It is, in simple terms, the price of money. It's how much money costs. Let me put it into perspective. If I go to the bank and I want to buy a house and I don't have money, and so I say to the bank, can you give me a mortgage for 200K? The bank is going to charge me the interest rate. That's what they have priced money at. Equally, if I put money in the bank is going to pay me for that money because I put it in my bank account. What are they going to pay me? They're going to pay me the interest rate. So how is the interest rate set? Every day at 11 o'clock in the morning, the Bank of England and all the large retail banks, every bank you've heard of on the high street, they get together and they talk about how much money should be priced at. So they say, how much would you be willing to buy this money from me? So the Bank of England lends to Barclays Bank. Barclays Bank say, I'm willing to pay 4%. And every single day at 11 a.m., the interest rate is set. This is called the SONIA rate, S-O-N-I-A. The Bank of England's job is to control inflation. And the way that the Bank of England controls inflation is by changing the interest rate. So we said that inflation changes the value of money. So the Bank of England can change the price of money by changing the interest rate. What does that mean practically? I hope you're not confused. What that means is if the Bank of England decide to increase the interest rates, say they make the interest rate 10%, you're probably not going to get a mortgage when the interest rates are 10% because the value of that mortgage now has gone up so much. You could have got it a year ago at 2%. You probably won't get mortgages. What you will do is probably save your money. That starts to cut down the spending. So remember, the problem was that everyone was spending. Now people stop spending and they start saving. And that's how the Bank of England start to control the inflation rates. Does anyone have any questions? Was that confusing? So how does this affect me? Like all these big bankers are meeting up at 11 o'clock every day. Why do I care? Well, it does affect you because it affects mortgages, it affects your car finance, it affects your credit cards, it affects your student loan. It affects you in so many ways. The minimal way that it would affect you is it affects the amount of interest that you'll get in your savings account if you invest, if you put your money in a savings account. If inflation is going up by 10% and you're getting 1% interest in your bank account, you're actually losing money. So it does pay you a benefit to see how much, like what's happening with the rates. Okay, so how do we look after our money? Everyone looks really bored. Smile at me. What should we do with our money to be good stewards of our money? So this slide I just put together to show different ways that you can look after your money. And I've done it on a risk level from 0 to the higher risk levels. So the risk-freest way to keep your money is having it as cash at the bank. Doing that, you can get interest rates of between probably 3 to 4%. Your cash is 100% safe as long as you have less than 85,000 in the bank account. It's 100% safe, nothing can happen to it, and you get decent returns. The next, probably more risky thing to do to get higher returns is probably to have bonds. So there's some really good platforms out there where you can buy a bond. The one that I use is called Raisin. It's really, really good. I can talk to anyone about it after. But basically how it works is you buy this product. It's called a bond. And that's basically a piece of paper that says you give the bank, say you give the bank £5,000, and they agree that after a period of time, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, you pick whatever you want, they will give you back 6K. So you're going to get the interest, but upon the end date of that bond. So anyone can access bonds, really low barriers to entry, slightly better interest rates than you would if you had cash. Bonds are really good if you probably don't need the money for like 6 months. I would probably say in that scenario, you should probably get a bond because you'll get slightly better rates than you would if you put it in the bank. The medium one is probably your pension. I've got a slide on pensions. I'm obsessed with my pension. All I do is save in my pension. I just think that's the best type of investment anyone could ever have, ever. And I'll explain to you why, but in summary, it's risk-free, it's really low fee rates, and you get to access very expert-level investment portfolio managers at really tiny fees because the government have forced all these companies to subsidize pensions. But we'll talk about that a bit more. Huh? It reduces your taxable income. Yeah, it's tax-free investment. So, yeah. The next one is investment funds. So the company that I work for, this is what we do, investment funds. But that's basically where you start to pool your assets with other people and you buy what's called a mutual fund. And that mutual fund there's like a main portfolio manager, like an investment person that is going to invest that into stocks and shares on your behalf for a fee. So you don't have to do anything, you just give them your money and they just do it for you. Very highly regulated, but a bit more risky. If you invest in investment funds, again, there's a slide on it, which I'll talk about a bit more, you probably get between 10 to 15% returns. That's the kind of investment I would say you would do over like 5 years, because in 1 year you could get less than that, and in another year you could get way more than that, but over 5 years you generally see about 10 to 15% returns. And the riskiest thing that personally I wouldn't advise anyone really to do unless you were really well researched is probably investing directly into stocks and shares. If you do it, like I would say do it as a hobby with an amount of money that you're not afraid to lose. But it's you can get more than 100% returns, and you could also lose your whole investment. So yeah, those are the different types of savings and investment. There's one else, maybe you're going to get it because of the previous slide. It's a very, very, very lucrative type of investment. You can get up to 10 times returns. It's guaranteed. There's no minimum investment. Anyone can do it. There's no barriers to entry. Anyone, maybe people that work in finance, anyone know what this is? I'm disgusted, I'll be honest with you. It's a tithe. It's donations. It's donations. It's what? It's a pyramid scheme. No, it's donations. Like, this is the best type of investment. Honestly, there was like a point where, I'm not joking you, every time I donated, I was getting literally 10 times the amount back to the penny. Like, I remember once I had a really big argument with someone over money. I really didn't want to give them the money. I was so angry about it. And I just, in my head, made this deal with God. I was like, if I do it, this is donation. You've got to count it as donation. I swear to you, I swear to God, the following week, I got called into an office at work and I was told I was being given a bonus for absolutely no reason. I'm not very good at my job. And it was to the penny. It was literally to the penny. It was an uneven number times 10. And it was given back to me. This is me and God's joke with each other. Like, I'm being serious. Donation is the most lucrative type of investment that you can get. This is your eternal value. We're talking about how money has no intrinsic value. This is where money can actually have some intrinsic value. This is where your investment will pay off eternally. You are a steward of the money. This is not your money. Don't think for a minute that you've earned money because of your good deeds or your good behavior or you being so smart or anything like that. Think about it as God has put this money in your pocket because there was something he saw in you that he trusted for you to share it in the places it needed to be shared. If you're not doing that, then you're not you're not doing what God intended when he gave you that money. So I would really encourage everyone to tithe if you don't already. And it might hurt a little bit. It hurts me sometimes when I donate. It kills me. But straight after, I feel so much better for it. I'm just being honest. Straight after, I feel so much better for it. And I do feel the dividends. And even if the only reason you're doing it is to help yourself detach from your obsession with money, that is still going to be a good thing. That is still going to pay you eternal dividends. So if you think you have a problem with money, or obsessing over money, or worrying over money, my advice would be to give it away. Oh, I forgot about this slide. And I was on the phone to my friend while I was writing this slide, and I was like, what should I put on this slide? She was like, put God as the CEO. When she said it, it sounded like such a good idea, but then I keep looking at it, it looks mad. But yeah, God is the CEO, you are the steward. Have you asked him where he wants you to put the money? Are you asking God what he wants you to do with money? Personally, again, this is just my belief. I think saving money, hoarding money, to the point where you have no use for it, but you just like to see it there, is worse than actually spending it. This is a form of greed. This is a form of obsession and not trusting in God's plan. So if you have money, a lot of it, and you just put it in the bank for absolutely no reason, it's very likely you don't trust in God and you're overly cautious about your future too. Here's a verse: honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your product. Then your barns will be filled with plenty. So when you get your paycheck, the first thing you should be doing is giving your 10% away. It's the first thing you should do. First fruits. Not at the end, I'll see how much I have left. It's literally the first thing you should do. And I promise you, the rest of the money that you have there will feel like you had all of it. I don't know how to explain that. It's a miracle. I'm telling you. God does something that when you don't spend money wisely, you might have a lot of it, but for some reason, it goes as quick as it came. It's inexplainable. I don't know how to put it into words. And in the same way, whenever I've not had enough money for anything, he just makes it stretch when I'm not attached to it. Okay, so after you've tithed, because that's the first lucrative investment, what kind of things do you need to think about before you decide how to spend or save your money? Number one would be the external environment. This is something people consistently don't do. I get, for me, I work in this industry, so it's just like really common sense to me. But a lot of my friends and stuff, they make decisions. I'm like, why would you do that? The first thing is, what is the interest rate like? Is the interest rate high? Is the interest rate low? Why would you invest in America when Trump has just gone and done all of this? Try and pay attention to the external environment around you, political. If there's a war in a country, do not invest in that country. Make good calculated decisions. Also with high interest rates, one of the basic things with that right now is we are in a kind of high interest rate environment. Interest rates are about 4%. They're 4.25, I think. You can get bonds at 5-6%. If you can get 4%, just putting the money in the bank, but you can get 5%, investing it into Netflix, just do the 4% in the bank. This is what I mean by the external environment. Just see what you can get that's risk-free before you make any risky decisions. Personal circumstances, it depends how long you don't need the money for. If, for example, you're getting married and you need money in 2 months' time, I really wouldn't risk it. So I would probably look at your personal circumstances. How much money do you have? Is it worth it? There's a lot of underlying fees in these investment products. I'm the one that comes up with them. They're all hidden fees that you might not know about. By the time you've paid the fee to take the investment out in a month, it might not be worthwhile. And then the last thing is your risk appetite. So in my industry, it's sort of 2 and 3. But in my industry, we say that there's 2 types of people. There are people that accumulate and people that decumulate. So there's people that are in a phase of their life where they're saving and accumulating money for something, to buy their house, to pay for this, to whatever, to spend when they need it. And there's people that are decumulating. They're people that have retired and are starting to draw down on their money. So this would obviously affect your risk appetite. If you need the money in a year's time, you probably won't take much risks with it. But if you're quite young and you're just investing regularly for no significant purpose, you're just putting £200 in the bank every single month, there's probably a lot more you could be doing with that money rather than just putting it in the bank, particularly given the fact that you don't need the money for a while. So I just picked on a few of the things that were on the other slide to just go into in a little bit more detail. So the first thing is cash. Everyone needs cash. Everyone should have a bit of cash. And I would suggest that you always have separate bank accounts for your spending and saving. The reason why I say this is because there are so many bank accounts out there that offer different rewards, and the rewards are different if you're spending or saving. For example, if you're spending, you might want a credit card that gives you points, that gives you cash back. If you're saving, you want an account with a high interest rate that actually rewards you for keeping the money in there for longer. So I would say, yeah, firstly, make sure you have 2 different bank accounts. Secondly, organize your bills so that they're as far away from the day that you got paid as possible. So if I get paid on the 1st of the month, really I want my bills to come out on the 30th at the end of the month, right before I get paid the next day. Why? Because I've had from the 1st to the 30th to accrue interest. If you get interest, but your bank is always at a zero balance, you're not benefiting at all from that interest. So as long as your liquidity allows you to, as long as you have enough money and you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you want to kind of arrange it. So like me personally, all my bills come out the day before I get paid. So other than that day, my bank account always has a really high amount of my paycheck in it at all times. So that would be my advice. Obviously be sensible. If you live paycheck to paycheck, don't do that and then come and blame me, don't do it. And check your accounts. Like, don't be lazy with it. My sister is like obsessed with switching bank accounts. She's got a really bad reputation for it. Like, I actually think a bank actually declines her because they were like, you've switched for this £100 like 3 times already. So yeah, don't obsess over it. But there's loads of bank accounts that give you loads of things. So like, you get cash back on your spending, especially with credit cards. There's bank accounts that have no fees abroad. So I have a Chase account. I don't get any fees when I travel. It's all free. I can just use the card everywhere I go. Some bank accounts give you phone insurance. And yeah, the main thing is you want an account that has high interest. And there's loads of like websites that you can go on to compare the interest rates of the different bank accounts. So I put my recommendations because these are what I use. I have a Marcus account, which is by Goldman Sachs. That's at like 4% interest at the moment. I personally, I think that's really good. And then my current account is my Chase bank account where I do all my spending out of it. I get 1% cash back on everything I spend. And the balance isn't that high because all my savings are elsewhere. I just put money in it so I can spend it and then I just get rid of it. I've written an app, it's called Raisin. It's not a cash platform, it's a bond platform. It is so easy to use. I can show it any of you afterwards if you want. It's how you buy bonds. The interface is so easy to use. Literally anyone can do it. You go on it and it shows you all the products. So it will say, this product is giving you 5% interest, but you can't touch the money for 6 months. I have some money in different bonds and they're literally like bonds from around the whole world. I've got one that's in Turkey, one that's actually in Egypt, not for any reason other than I compared them all and it had the best rate, so I just took it. And then when it matures and it comes out, you can either choose to take the money out or just renew it for another term. So yeah, I really, really, really rate Raisin. I think it's so good. It's a really good app. And it's 0 fees. They get their fees from the providers. Huh? Yeah, it's risk-free up to 85k. So there's something called the FSCS levy. Yeah. So the Bank of England guarantees £85,000. If you have any more than that in one institution, you would get £85,000 back if the bank went bankrupt. Huh? Yeah. If the bond is being offered by a retail institution, which these are, then yeah, it's covered. Bonds are like, yeah, these kinds of bonds. So these are what I would call sovereign investment grade bonds. These are risk-free bonds. There are bonds that aren't risk-free. I have a bond that's like a green bond that the government were offering like way back when, that I just don't know why I even bought it, but there's some of those where like there's a bit of risk attached to it, but personally I find it interesting to just put a tiny bit of money in something to just see what happens to it, just because it's the industry I work in. I find it fun. I wouldn't suggest you ever did that with your life savings, obviously. Okay, the next thing is pension. I'm so biased when it comes to pensions. Like, I don't understand why people don't invest in their pensions. So hopefully today I'm going to convince you. Your pension contributions are tax-free. So when you get paid, you can pay into your pension pot having paid no tax. So let me put this into perspective for you. If you took out £20, if your salary was £20, had you not taken it out and you put it into your pension instead, you would have had £25 in your pension at minimum. That's if you're on the lowest tax bracket. If you're on a 40% tax bracket, it's almost double of that had you not taken it as your salary and just put it into your pension. So first and foremost, I feel like returns are so hard to beat based on the fact that this money is tax-free alone. So the return you've got from it being tax-free, you're not going to really be able to match that with any other type of investment. So here I've said, if you contribute 10% of your salary, say you make 40K, and you put 10% of your salary into your pension every year, and a lot of people don't even do that. I put 21% into my pension. Some people put 2%, 3%, 4%. But just say you put 10 on a 40K salary, that means that you have around 200K after 40 years, at the point you get to the age of 65. That is 15K a year for you to live on for the next 15 years. Can you live on 15K a year? That is nothing. That is not enough money for you, and that's just 15 years. Let's hope that you live past 15 years. That really isn't enough of a pension for you to live on. So the other reason why you should invest in your pension is because when you retire, you don't want to be that person that's relying on your kids, relying on family members because you don't have money. You do have a duty to think, be forward-thinking, and look after yourself from now. Another example here. So if you put in 20K into your pension, not 20K a year, just 20K one-off payment into your pension today, and you're on the lowest band of tax, in 20 years' time, you would have 100K. Why is that? It's because pension companies invest your money with investment managers. That's the company I work for. They take your money, an investment that you can't access on your own, because the way they get the rates that they get is because it's loads of money. So maybe your whole company's pension equates to £2 billion. They take the 2 billion, they give it to an investment manager, and they negotiate really good fees on your pensions. So you're paying barely nothing. It's tax-free, you're paying barely nothing, and it's come out of your paycheck before you've paid tax. It's really hard to beat your pension. I understand, I know you're all thinking in your head, why would I put money in my pensions when I need the money today because I need to spend it? I need the money in my pocket. I'm not suggesting that you prioritize pension over anything, but what I would prioritize pension over is general saving. If you're going to retire with £20,000 in your bank because you just had 20K for a rainy day your whole life, and it gets to that day and you had 20K in your bank, you've wasted 20K, you could have had 100. So rather than keeping the money for a rainy day in your bank account, personally, I would put that into your pension where it could do a lot more for you. I have a really good pension. It's the only reason Mina's with me. It's a really good pension. It is. So yeah, if anyone wants pension advice, come and speak to me. If you're self-employed, you can get a pension. It's called a SIPP, S-I-P-P. Type that into Google. It will come up straight away. This is where you can invest your own. If you have an accountant doing your taxes, you can also wait until you get your tax bill for the end of the year. Say your tax bill is 20K. You can just instead put that 20K into your pension, and then you would have paid it in tax anyway. This way you've paid it into your pension. Okay, you don't have it now, but at least you have it in the future. Okay, lastly, I feel like I'm rambling on. Investment funds. So this is the one that I said that is the industry that I work in. What are investment funds? Investment funds are pools of money that are added together, and they have one designated portfolio manager who runs the money, basically, and invests it on your behalf. And you pay a small fee out of that. I really think that if you've got a bit in cash, I should have said this before, but I don't think you should ever have one type of investment. You shouldn't just put your money in bonds or just cash or just anything. It should always be like a balance between it should always be a diverse balance of different things. So if you have enough cash in your bank to get you through, you've put money in your pension, and you have a bond, and you rich, you still have money left. In that scenario, I would definitely say that you should put your money in investment funds. If you're interested in investing in stocks and shares, you don't really know where to begin, this is definitely the place to start, because someone else is doing the work for you for what is pretty much a small fee. And there's loads of platforms, and they range, like they're all kind of the same, but they're all slightly different for different reasons. So I would say like the gold standard of platforms is probably Hargreaves Lansdown, but you pay for that, their fees are really high, and it's because their interface is so easy to use. It's for people that don't really understand investment, so it's like, you can see the trends, like all the language is really simplified, but it's quite expensive. I use Trading 212. The app's terrible, like I hate it. I'm constantly getting notifications, but it's dirt cheap, and I'm just cheap, so I just use Trading 212. But yeah, there's loads. I would say if you decide today that you're like, do you know what, actually I have £5,000, I want to invest it, what should I do with it? I think I want this. Someone told me I should invest it in the S&P 500. Just go onto Google and just type in investment platforms, S&P 500, and it will compare the price of all of them. And you can just look across and be like, okay, that one is the cheapest. Again, if you're not sure, like, speak to me. This is like my specialism. I was going to do a slide on tax, but I just feel like I should end it there. So, key takeaways. Money is a tool, not your master. Like, it's so important that you reframe. Personally, like, I grew up being very, very, very ambitious, to be honest. Like, I moved quite quickly in my career, and then I just got to a point where I was like, oh my God, I hate it. Like, I wouldn't describe myself as ambitious at all, and I try and constantly reframe. And the way I do that, to be honest with you, to be completely honest with you, is I try and donate. Every time I feel like I'm being weird about money, I just give it away. And it's quite nice, because I just pray about it, and I wake up and I see what's on my heart, like, where do I want to donate? There's so many things you could donate to. You could donate to Feast, you could donate to the Ark at Golders, you could donate to the basement, you could donate to homeless people, you can take the cash and walk down the street and just give it to people. You can donate to a friend who you know is struggling, like, just do it. Just don't even think about it, just do it. So yeah, think of money as a tool, not your master. Money doesn't run you, you're looking after the money. And one day you will have to give an account for it. You'll be in front of God, and you're going to have to say to him, look, this is what I did with what you gave me. So what exactly are you going to say? Start early, think long term. Like, I really think if anyone in here just has money in the bank and doesn't do anything with it, I really would encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, start being a bit more savvy with your money. Identify and avoid ego investing. This is my pet peeve. Like, there are people who invest day in, day out. They work for companies. They make billions and billions of pounds because they know about investment. You cannot outsmart them. You just can't. Like, you can't make deals quicker than them. You don't have the information that they have. If you are ego investing, you're gambling. You might as well go into the casino and put £100 on black, because you don't really know what you're doing, if we're all, like, honest with each other. So I really, really encourage you to identify and avoid it where you can. Have integrity. That was more like the tax slide that I had, but, like, try and have integrity when it comes to money. There's no point, like, donating and thinking of yourself as a steward and all the rest of it, and then every opportunity that you have to avoid paying a bill or speeding fine or tax or whatever, you just take that opportunity. Like, I have a really toxic trait of, when I'm dying because I don't want to pay my tax bill and it's killing me and I'm hurting inside, I'm like, I really don't want to pay it. I discuss it with God and I tell him, it's my tithe. It's a donation. Whatever you need to do to reframe it in your head, just do it, but make sure you have integrity. Why are you laughing? I paid that fine. I paid it, though. I paid it. Huh? Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, exactly. Whose face is on your money? Queen, she's dead. Give generously. Yeah, give generously. Yeah, I think I've, like, highlighted that point time and time again. But yeah, the true eternal value of you as a human being is not your money. It's not what you have. It's not what you're worth. It's not what you're going to leave to your kids. It's who you are and what the money made you. That is your true eternal value. The money that you have. It's not who you are. That's it. I'm done. Wait, question.